Hey YouTube, welcome back to RayTube episode number 10. In today's video, we're going to be breaking down another practice exam question so that we're better prepared in how to tackle and approach these questions on the exam so that we can go in there, pass, and be done with this. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's jump into it. A hospital social worker is meeting with a 70-year-old man who was admitted to the hospital due to an injury. The doctor recommended that the client go to an inpatient rehab center to receive physical therapy prior to returning home. The client states that he plans to go straight home as he wants to sleep in his own bed and see his dog. The client believes that will be much more helpful than going to a rehab clinic. What should the social worker do? A, call Adult Protective Services or APA as it's too risky for the man to return home. B, convince the client to attend rehab like the doctor has recommended to improve his health. C, discuss possible alternative strategies to help ensure that he is safe if he chooses to return home, such as having family stay with him. Or D, refuse to let the client leave as it's too risky for the client to return home without planning to follow through with the continued treatment. So, just like with the previous ones, pause the video, reread through the question, reread through the answers, pick your best answer choice, unpause the video, and then we'll dive into the explanation. Okay, let's go through the answer choices. If you picked A, that is incorrect. A is call Adult Protective Services or APA as it's too risky for the man to return home. It's incorrect. Why? The client has the right to return home, even if it is unsafe to do so. There is no need to contact Adult Protective Services as the client is not being abused and is competent to make his own decisions. So remember the purpose of these services, right? The purpose of APA, Adult Protective Services. In the question, it didn't say anything about the man being cognitively impaired, meaning he's not in his right state of mind. He can't make decisions for his own. Yes, he is in that senior state, an older adult of being 70, but that does not mean that he's not in his right state of mind. Also, it doesn't mean that, he's in a danger to himself, an imminent danger where, again, like he's being abused, neglected, like something's happening to him. He's doing things in that moment to himself. It is a recommendation from the doctor. And as we scroll more to B is also incorrect. Convince the client to attend rehab like the doctor has recommended to improve his health. That's incorrect. Why? As the social worker, it's not our role to convince a client to do something, even if it's in their best interest. The NASW Code of Ethics clearly states that clients have a right to refuse services as they are not in imminent danger to themselves or others and are mentally competent. Also, nothing in this question said anything about the client being mandated. Now, when a client is mandated to attend services like for anger management, therapy, whatever it may be, the rules tend to change a bit, right? But again, in this question, it didn't say anything about the man being, imminent danger to himself or others, cognitively impaired. So he's in his right state of mind, and nothing about he's mandated to attend services. So because of that, we have to promote the client's right to self-determination, essentially meaning they can choose to do something or not to do something. And just to continue with B even more, again, I got you guys. 1.02 for self-determination from the NASW Code of Ethics. Social workers respect and promote the right of clients to self-determination and assist clients in their efforts to identify and clarify their goals. Social workers may limit clients' right to self-determination when, in the social worker's professional judgment, clients' actions or potential actions pose a serious, foreseeable, and imminent risk of themselves or others. So they kind of have a plan of action is about to go down. That's not the case right here. Is it potential safety concerns that something could happen if, things are going on, he's not fully following through with the doctor's recommendations? Again, it's a recommendation. The client does not have to follow through, even if it is in the client's best interest. And right here, according to the social work dictionary, self-determination can be defined as an ethical principle in social work that recognizes the rights and needs of clients to be free to make their own choices and decisions. And when we talk about informed consent, which is 1.03 from the NASW Code of Ethics, social workers should provide services to clients only in the context of a professional relationship based when appropriate or valid informed consent. Social workers should use clear and understandable language to inform clients of the purpose of the services, risks related to the services, limits to services because of the requirements of a third-party payer, relevant costs, reasonable alternatives, client's right to refuse or withdraw consent. So remember, when you give consent, that's for services as well, and the time frame covered by the consent. Social workers should provide clients with an opportunity to ask questions. So again, with consent, when we give consent, and this is for anything, right? When people give consent, this is agreeing to the terms and conditions that come with the services that we're agreeing to, that we're consenting to. In this scenario, the man, he does not have to follow through. Again, it is a recommendation. He's not cognitively impaired. He's not mandated to be there. He's not in imminent danger to himself or someone else. It is a recommendation. Clients do not have to follow through with doctors' recommendations if they do not want to. Social workers can provide them with facts and education, but shall allow them the right to self-determination. So that's why we would go with C being the correct answer. Discuss possible alternative strategies to help ensure that he is safe if he chooses to return home, such as having family stay with him. That is correct. Why? Because we have to honor the client's right to self-determination. We want to address possible safety issues, including the possibility of having family members stay with him. The client may accept this compromise, which ensures safety while respecting client's right to make his own decisions. So when we're looking at this question, right, and it's like, wait a second, Ray, these answers all sound pretty reasonable-ish, right? That's why we had the NASW Code of Ethics, because it's our playbook, our blueprint, our guide on how to address these decisions as a professional social worker within the social work profession. And based off of this, again, it is a recommendation, right? Because it's a recommendation, we can look at this and say, well, calling Adult Protective Services, that's not really the correct answer. How do we know? Like right off the bat, because when we contact Adult Protective Services, it's for other reasons, not for this reason. When we look at convince the client to attend a rehab, like the doctor has recommended to improve his health, as social workers, we're remaining that objective party. There's a difference between educating the client on the benefit and the potential consequences of doing something or not doing something versus convincing them to do something like, oh, you really should do this. Like it'll be in your best interest if you go here. We just want to make sure that they have enough information to make a more informed decision. And we'll dive right back into the question right here with D. Refuse to let the client leave as it's too risky for the client to return home without planning to follow through with continued treatment. That is incorrect. As social workers, we can't keep a client in the hospital if there are no imminent risk factors. The client has the right to return home, even if it is unsafe. Again, I want to be very, very particular about that. Imminent danger, imminent meaning, there's a plan of action. Hey, I'm about to go home and do this, or hey, I'm about to go over this and do this to somebody, right? We want to address that. This right here is saying, hey, the man is being released. The doctor is recommending rehab, physical therapy, right? He doesn't have to follow through with it, even though we're like, hey, like it would be in your best interest, you know, if someone were to follow through with this, right? Like think about even in our situation where if we've been through something, or, you know, a family member or a friend or anyone, right? And the doctor may recommend, hey, physical therapy. We don't have to go, right? We technically could just be like, nah, I'm okay. I'm not going to go to physical therapy. Nah, I'll just wing it, right? But it would be in our best interest because that's kind of why the doctors recommend it in the first place. But when we look at this question, when we see refuse to let the client, again, if they're talking about imminent danger or something like that, then yeah, we can look into it more. But it's like, wait a second, we're not supposed to be refusing to let a client do anything. Again, safety, those type of safety concerns aside, and convincing the client to do anything. Like we're not supposed to be convincing the client to do anything. So, and when we know the purpose of APA or adult protective services, we're like, wait a second, this isn't a scenario where adult protective services will come into play. So it's almost like C just kind of stands out just knowing that information off the bat. So read through the NASW Code of Ethics is a big help in answering a good amount of these questions, because it guides us through on how to address these questions appropriately, especially on surface level. These questions sound correct, and it's like, oh, well, I can see myself doing this, and like, oh yeah, why wouldn't you want to convince a client to do something that's in their best interest? But self-determination, we have to know to the extent of when self-determination is, you know, applicable. Again, unless safety concerns and issues are present, where like, hey, imminent danger, they're going to hurt themselves or somebody else or anything like that. But outside of things of that nature, self-determination, a client can decide whether they want treatment or not, because it doesn't say anything in this question about the client being mandated. So again, the answer would be C. Discuss possible alternative strategies to help ensure that he is safe if he chooses to return home, such as having family stay with them. Okay guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share with a social work friend, because we don't want to be licensed by ourselves. And you got this. You got this. We're going to tune in. We're going to get the information. We're going to learn how to really approach these questions on the exam so we can go in, pass the exam, be done with it. All right guys, I'll see you next video. Bye.